Hi everyone, welcome to Storyzest with me, your host LadyDawn. I modify well-known fairy tales with jest, so on with the story. This story took place in Germany in the previous century before Google, WhatsApp and YouTube, basically the Stone Ages for some listeners. There was this blue-collar widower with kids who married an evil woman. He was happily married, she wasn't because of his kids Hansel and Gretel. She liked more private time with their dad to get down and dirty. She persuaded him to get rid of the kids, blaming the Great Depression, his job loss and famine. He was reluctant at first, but he gave in. They plotted a plan to drop the kids in the woods and leave them there. Fortunately, Hansel was eavesdropping during their planning, so at night he went outside and gathered some white pebbles. The next day, around noon, the father took Hansel and Gretel to a brisk walk deep into the forest and suggested he would go and gather some wood to start a campfire. So he hits off and never returned, that mean queen. Hansel wasn't surprised, but Gretel started crying in total panic. So he said, "Little girl on drag, don't cry, I got a solution." So after nightfall they followed his shiny pebbles he dropped during the walk back to the house, arriving early morning, shouting, "Surprise, we're back!" The father, such a hypocrite, was happy to see them and told Hansel and Gretel that he was very upset to leave them in the first place. Right, he'd just like to have some time with their evil stepmom to do the nasty. He didn't say that, of course, but I assume that he was happy to have some private time with his stepmom, who honestly was a beautiful woman. Anywho, all was fine for a while, and then another crisis hits. We already know the drill. This time, the stepmom locked the kids in the room and started plotting again to get rid of them. So much for love, right? Back into the woods they go, this time with only one slice of bread each. What's up with kids and the woods in fairy tales, by the way? Seems like a recipe for disaster. Clever Hansel sprinkles breadcrumbs on the path. Birds ate the crumbs and both were left fulfilled in the dark forest. The search for home starts and they couldn't find it. Where was Google Maps at the time? They stumbled on a house made out of cake and candy. Since they were so hungry, they started to binge, and of course there's a witch who popped out of the house and lured them in with food. She pretended to be a nice person, but she had a cannibalistic mindset. She strapped them down in the candy house and started to fattening them up, until she decided they were ready to be her next meal, and she licked her lips by the thought of that. Ew, gross! She ordered Gretel to light the oven to roast Hansel. What a way to go! Keep in mind, there was no solar energy back then. The oven was a huge one because the witch was a cookie caterer to the local coffee shops. Gretel pretended not to understand how to light the oven, so the witch sighed deeply, rolled her eyes, rude, and crawled in the oven, cursing and everything. Gretel took her chance, closed and locked the oven, freed her brother and let the witch burn. Burn, baby, burn! Meanwhile, they searched her house for nice things. You always have to look for a silver lining, right? They found a large vase with lots of money and gold. They grabbed it and set off for home. When Hansel and Gretel finally returned home, their evil stepmom had died from unknown causes. The father was really happy to have his kids back, and after cursing their father out, they felt the same way. They hugged him, and after some clever investment from the witch money, they now could live in wealth for generations to come. Okay, some side notes to this story. I think the father was mentally abused by his second wife. There was no way to rectify the horrible action he took. To dump his kids in the woodlands with no drinks or food, that's plain neglect. Well, duh, even a 5th grader knows that. I know, but I had to fit this in just for the sake of it. Hansel and Gretel worked as a team, that was great, and cannibalism is disgusting. If you listen to this story at night, I hope you pin back your ears with delight. Good night, don't let the spiders bite. If you listen during the day, a little fun story is always a sunny ray. Give a thumbs up or subscribe if you like. Thank you so much. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen.